Hey guys, VHS82 apostrophe, aka Rob from Georgia, here with you with episode 6 of my ongoing Space 1999 series. Seems like it's been forever since I did episode 5. Of course, if you've been paying attention, I just finished up my entire top 100 10 segments plus an addendum. So that's down there. I still got to get back to my shelf by shelves, DVDs. And of course, today, I also, right after this, gotta spend a few minutes talking about Mortuary because it's MVD week. That's our label week, second weekend over at Body Bags. And so I'll be talking about that here right after this. And then I've said before, I got something on the back burner. I'm getting closer. I'm getting closer. In fact, I don't know. I may just put an intro up today or tomorrow. We'll see how comfortable I feel. Anyways, back to Space 1999, another time, another place. David Tomblin, I believe, directed this one. And let me see, written by Johnny Byrne. This is an interesting, I was thinking, I just watched it again for I don't know, the 4th or 5th time. And a few things occurred to me real quick. One, I am really falling in love with this series. Now, when I first got it for Christmas and I popped it in and I started watching these episodes really for the first time. I mean, I saw a lot of these as a kid, but I was 6, 7 years old. I mean, my memory of them, the best memory I have is having the Eagle One toy. And so I did get through the entire year one. But as I'm really taking my time, these first 5, and well 6 now, I have to say, man, and I'm just falling in love with the series, man. I'm finding more and more to think about. I wish I could just talk for hours on it, but that's just not practical. I'm always finding something though. In this particular episode, episode 6, Another Time, Another Place. It's an very interesting episode, but its guest star is Judy Geeson. Now, I don't know if you recognize that name, but she was, golly, was she late? I want to say she was Lacey. Yeah, she had to have been Lacey in Rob Zombie's Lords of Salem. She was one of the 3 modern day witches, the 3 antagonists to of course, Heidi Hawthorne, right? Sherry Moon Zombie's character. Those 3 antagonists. And so she's one of them. And so as a result, I actually went back, revisited last night Lords of Salem just to see Judy Geeson, so many years removed. Now, of course, I think she was an Inseminoid. Can't remember her character name. It might have been Sandy. 31. Rob Zombie's 31. She's been in other stuff, but it's always interesting when you can revisit an actress that, you have something of them when they were really young. Even like Veronica Cartwright, the little girl from The Birds, I got her in that. And then it's wonderful to put an Alien and see her so grown up. Danielle Harris, of course, from Halloween 4, and then Rob's I mean, these things are kind of neat. Anyways, episode 6 is interesting. I was thinking a lot about this. It does attemptably answer a few questions. John Kenneth Muir, in his book, I think he sort of puts this episode in the middle of perhaps a 3-episode arc, beginning with Black Sun, this one, and then the final episode of year 1, Arcadia, and that might be one of the strongest arcs in the first year, perhaps. Notwithstanding, of course, the ongoing adventures being bounced around all over the solar system, universe, whatever. And so anyways, there's a 3 in this particular episode. There's a 3, it's again 3 acts, right? The first act really deals with this weird phenomenon has occurred, and it's sort of jumbled everything up. They don't know what's happened. They just know, something really severe has happened, and they just know they're in another part of the universe, at least initially. that's like sort of, and Act 1 really deals mostly with Regina. Of course, this is Judy Geeson's guest appearance, her character, and what happens to her starts to tell the others there, Koenig and Helena, Victor, Bergman, Professor Bergman, it starts to reveal that something really weird has happened. Act 2 is really the rediscovery of Moonbase Alpha, and I'll explain this here in a second. And then the third act is actually a landing party down on what is conceivably Earth. Now, it's and I would say Act 2 really, is sort of the blurs over the lines of both Act 1 and Act 3. And it's an interesting, though, this show, I mean, this particular episode is fascinating. So, there's this really crazy phenomena, and Regina's the first one who starts to show she believes she lives somewhere else. And she believes with all that is in her that both Koenig and Alan, who in her mind is her husband. Now, in reality of this show, he is not. And so that starts to beg questions. Plus, she's exhibiting the physical signs of actually living somewhere on a planet. And that is she's got a sunburn. And so she's, very quickly, see what happened is she's caught between really two existences. The one that she's experiencing there on our Moonbase Alpha, but the other one who's been sort of she's been torn away from, that is presently on Earth. But is it the same Earth that our Moonbase Alpha was ripped away from? The questions start to get a little interesting. And so she really starts to go through psychotic episodes, experiencing nightmare visions, and which, some work to really neat effect. Ultimately culminating in her death early on as a result, as Helena discovers two brains. And really what's going on is she could not bear the weight of facing two existences simultaneously within her mind. Now, Helena, okay, so as you get into Act 2, that's when they realize another moon has suddenly shown up. And so opposite both sides of the Earth, there are two existing moons. And so it doesn't take long before Koenig and Alan decide to take an Eagle 1 over to the other moon to check out Moonbase Alpha, pre-existed Moonbase Alpha. And they find a base that basically has been abandoned. It's like a ghost place. But what, to their shock and horror, they find a crashed Eagle 1 where both Koenig and Alan find themselves dead as a result of a crash landing on the moon. We'll find out later. Once their bodies have been brought back to our moon base, and Helena has looked at it. And so you got this stuff, this really freaky stuff going on. And then eventually, once the other moon, once the professor realizes that the other moon is on a collision course with them, and they ultimately are going to be destroyed, at least in their minds, is what they feel is going to happen. Then Koenig decides, well, we've got no choice. We've got to put our Operation Exodus Phase 1 into action and just head to Earth and check things out, because that's another thing you find out in Act 2. You find out that Earth has changed, but as a result of what? You're not really sure. You assume it's a result of the moon initially being ripped away out of its orbit, and then all those changes that would occur. In this case, we find out there's an ice age ongoing in Europe. Most of North America is a desert, except for Santa Maria, I think it is, where there seems to be some life there. And we'll find out that perhaps the remnant of Moonbase Alpha has exited out of Moonbase and tried to pick up their existence down there. But we really don't have a lot of information of what's going on. We just know, and we know there's been nuclear ash fallout, nuclear war. Um, what's happened exactly? We're never really given any answers. It's suggested that maybe this is just a completely different Earth in the sense that they would have known Earth. It's really weird when you consider just as they weave their way through. It just offers so many interesting questions. So as a result of this, right, they got to go down to Earth, and when they get to Santa Maria, they're of course faced with their, I guess is a word they use, doppelgangers, their other existing selves. And it's interesting, Helena's, when she meets herself, of course, Helena has been living for 5 years without Koenig because he has died. Him and Alan have both died. And what's interesting, you find out that when Regina dies on our moon base Alpha, down there on this alternative existing Earth, Regina dies at the same time. And so now, they've basically lost two. And you quickly arrive at this moment where Victor down there on this other Earth, if it is another Earth, they all quickly make the assessment, those who were living there, that the three who have arrived, Helena, Koenig, and Alan, must immediately exit before the two moons collide if time is to be corrected in the way, or as they're told, they will have no place to die when it is that they die. It's just like so much stuff going on. And I wasn't planning on rewatching it this morning, but I did throw it on. And I'm just like, I could probably go back and revisit this a couple, I won't. I'll move on. In fact, the next episode has Peter Cushing guest starring, so I can't wait to check that out. But, it's just, I'm realizing it and just seeing that there's so much interesting stuff to chew on. And it all goes without saying. The visuals, practicals, the miniatures, matte paintings. It's just everything. It just looks so good and holds up so stinking well. I think I might have actually hit just about everything I wanted to bring up. It is always cool when you run into a guest star who or seen in, like Judy Geeson. And, thanks to Rob Zombie, who, he has that penchant for going back and finding actors, in the 70s or, earlier a little bit, and giving them new life in the 2000s. Sid Haig is a big one of them. He was like head of maintenance somewhere when Rob called him up for House of a Thousand Corpses, and really just breathed new acting, I guess career or whatever into him. And I would say thankfully so, right? And so it was really fun seeing Judy in Lords of Salem. Man, she is a wicked character in that movie, man. Those three antagonists, those three witches are something. But to see her in the first act of this show is so much fun, because she exhibits really just a different character here, and what she's experiencing, the horror of just not understanding this dual existence. And she knows Alan is dead, and yet Alan is there alive on Moonbase, and just her whole her psyche can't process, it can't cope. And so the result, and it's an interesting sort of underpinning, I don't know, message here or something, that existences, while they may, or if they do exist, if they were ever to come in, at least in terms of this show's position, is, well, one has to give way to the other. It's just natural. You can only have one existence exist. And one of the kind of weird, Helena says when she makes a decision just to die, our Helena has a really hard time with that, and just she wants her to stay alive, and that maybe they can, help each other. And she says no. Her purpose was really Koenig. They had gotten married, and since Koenig died, she's been without him for 5 years. It's not for her anymore. In fact, she says, if I die, I may be able to refine some of the things I've lost through you. And that's like, an interesting thought, right? And so, I mean, there's just a lot going on here in this episode. And I think, maybe I'm just going to go ahead and just leave it here. There is an interesting quote that Bergman gives. I can't remember it. I'm not even going to try to remember it, but I did drop it down in the notes. It is, so just look down there. His reply to Koenig, when Koenig says, in terms of them suddenly being back in Earth's orbit, could not be by chance. And Bergman's reply to him goes, and I think this is the overarch between Black Sun, this one, and Arcadia, is this notion that there is this providential hand, call it what you will, that is guiding them, and with purpose and with intent to what is happening to them. They're just not out there blindly like a ball in a pinball machine. And even then, there's something else controlling that pinball, right? I mean, whoever it is that's playing the game to effect is guiding that pinball to the best of their ability, although it seems that this divine providential hand is much better than we seem, at least. The only thing I was going to say is with this episode, it's just the idea of what happened to Earth. And what as a result of the nuclear ash and the civilizations and the cities that have been wiped out, there's no real answer. And if you really think about, is this the result of the moon being originally thrown out of its orbit? You can't really think on that long, because then a lot of other things just don't make sense. Like it just, with the remnant of Moonbase Alpha finding their home there, how does that all go down? How does that happen? Was there a nuclear war that wiped out the planet, and in the end they realized their existence on Moonbase Alpha was limited, and they had no choice but to attemptably repopulate the Earth. There's a whole other story there. It's interesting. So anyways, another time, another place, another phenomenal episode here in Space 1999. It's still very, very early on in year one. But we'll look now ahead to the next one, Missing Link, with Peter Cushing. And that ought to be interesting. I can't really remember what that one was really like. It's been a while since I've seen the early ones, of course, since Christmas. So anyways, with all that, definitely, man. Last time I checked this box, it was only $65 on Amazon. I think it's worth it, especially if you're my age and you have some memories of seeing it as a kid, or you had the toys or whatever. I don't know if $65 today, of course, 65 is a lot different than, say, a year and a half ago. It would have been a totally different situation, probably, with everything just skyrocketing. But anyways, it's worth to take another look, or a first time look, perhaps. So join me next time, whenever that next time is, when we'll be having some happy discussions about Peter Cushing. And it was Christopher Lee who reached out to Cushing and asked him if he would want to be part of this. And Cushing, of course, agreed. And so thank Christopher Lee for that. Anyways, we always end these things off with Go Bills.